Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't hear that many good mornings. Is it that bad of a day? Okay. Good morning. I'm very excited to be here, not only as mayor of the city of Oxnard, but to this grant of $1.5 million in railroad safety that will go towards the Rice Avenue Rail Safety Project. The intersection at Rice and 5th Street was cited by the LA Times as the 23rd most hazardous rail crossing in California. And unfortunately, a tragic accident happened there last year on February 24th, claiming one life and injuring nearly 30 others aboard a Metrolink train. We commend the Oxnard community and first responders for banding together that day to assist those who were injured. While we're grateful for the swift response from the community and our safety personnel, we hope we'll never have to experience another tragedy like this again. So again, I'm happy to announce a $1.5 million funding from the United States Department of Transportation, and it brings us one step closer to the long overdue safety improvements at the Rice Avenue crossing. And the City of Oxnard is happy to do its part to ensure the safety of the community by contributing 20% of the funds that will go towards this life-saving project. The project includes a bridge over the tracks that's dedicated to the street traffic so accidents involving trains and cars can be prevented. These improvements will mean a safer commute for people who live, work, and visit the City of Oxnard. I'd like to thank Congresswoman Julia Brownley, U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Railroad Administration, Caltrans, Ventura County Transportation Commission, and I'll note that Brian McDonald on our City Council serves on the commission, and the Union Pacific Railroad for helping to push this life-saving project forward. One of our first speakers today is Keith Milhouse with the Ventura County Transportation Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor mentioned, my name is Keith Milhouse. I'm a council member from the city of Moorpark. I also chair the Ventura County Transportation, and in the past chair and a current board member of the Metrolink Board of Directors. It's my honor today to introduce to you a number of dignitaries that have joined us. If you could please hold your applause till the end, because we have a rather lengthy list. We have Congresswoman Julia Brownley with us, FRA Administrator Sarah Feinberg. You just heard from Mayor Tim Flynn, Mayor Pro Tem Carmen Ramirez, Councilmember Brian McDonald, who is also a member of the Losan Board of Directors and the County Transportation Commission, Councilmember Bert Perello from the City of Oxnard, City Manager Greg Nyhoff, Ventura County Supervisor Kathy Long, the Chief Executive Officer and Director of the Port of Hueneme, Kristen Dekas, Councilmember and former Ventura County Transportation Commissioner John Sharkey, District 7 Director from Caltrans, Carrie Ball, James White, a commissioner with the Ventura County Transportation Commission. I saw Jim, there we go. The General Manager of Gold Coast Transit, Stephen Brown. On his way, arriving via rail in fine style, will be the Metrolink Chief Executive Officer, Art Leahy. Field representative for a senator who has been very good to this area, even though she's from Northern California, and has led the way on rail safety, from Senator Dianne Feinstein's office, Sabiha Khan. And the Chief of Staff for Ventura County Supervisor John Zaragoza is Bill Gallagher, who is here. I hope I didn't miss anybody. This was the list that's provided, but inevitably, always left somebody off. If not, thank you everybody for being here. I just had a few short comments, having served as on the Metrolink board for 11 years. First of all, we're here to recognize the award of the $1.5 million grant for the Rice Avenue Rail Project design through the U.S. Department of Transportation Railroad Safety Grant for safe transportation of energy products. This grant will fund the project design for the Rice Avenue grade separation. And as we all know and we have seen throughout Southern California and the nation, the interaction between trains and vehicles at crossing can lead to deadly consequences. Every year, thousands of Metrolink, Amtrak, and Union Pacific freight trains cross Rice Avenue, which has an average daily traffic count of 35,000. And avoiding the potential deadly interaction is crucial between trains and cars. This grant and the construction will eliminate that potential interaction. At Metrolink, safety is foundational and at the core of everything that we do. We are proud to have led the nation by being the first in the country to implement positive train control in compliance with the deadline set by the Railroad Safety Act of 2008. We became the first in the country to install inward-facing cameras in the cab and have led the way for those to be installed in other areas, battling legal challenges from the unions at both the district court level and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Everyone that's involved in transportation recognizes that safety is not a destination. It is a continual journey. We operate in the most densely populated and complicated operating environment in the country for rail travel. This particular grant is only the first step on this project. Our next step is to get funding to get this project built. We're the largest county in the state without a sales tax measure that goes toward transportation. Without funding, we're going to see increased congestion in the county, a worsening of our quality of life, air quality, and the delay of safety improvements. It's time for the leaders of this county at both the political, the business, and the community level to step up to help us secure a sales tax for transportation so that we can get funding for so many important projects. I'd like to thank FRA Administrator Feinberg for her diligent work and efforts in helping secure this grant and helping secure funds throughout the country and implement policies to make rail safety much more prevalent. And I'd also like to thank a great Congresswoman who I'm proud to have representing us in our district, a Congresswoman that gets things done, and this grant is just the latest example. And at this point, I'm going to take the time to introduce another person who is very important to this county. She is the Caltrans Division 7 District Director. And although she represents both LA and Ventura County, she has repeatedly stated that Ventura County is her favorite. So without further ado, Caltrans District 7 Director Carrie Ball.
Absolutely. Good morning, and thank you, Supervisor Milhouse. And I am so happy to be here in Ventura, and Caltrans is proud to be a partner in this critical safe grade separation project in this critical corridor. Thank you so much for your leadership and support, Congresswoman Brownlee. Your quick efforts and continued nonstop support for this project is so your leadership in when we met a couple of years ago, we discussed this project. Your passion for this project came through. You left no stone unturned. You did not take no for an answer. You continued to push that boulder up the hill until you got this funding. So I want to salute you and your efforts in getting this $1.5 million. It is the first step forward, and we will continue to work with you to get the rest of the funding. You were instrumental in getting this and funds through the FAST Act, which was signed December 15th. I'd say that was fast as government goes. Thank you, Administrator Feinberg, for the $1.5 million grant for the Rice Avenue Safety Project. With this grant, Caltrans, Ventura County Transportation Commission, City of Oxnard can get down to the business of start designing this important 6-lane structure that will carry the 35,000 vehicles daily on average, which includes the trucks to the Port Hueneme. So thank you very much. One other thing to note, it's also a critical energy corridor, and that was one of the reasons it was selected by the FRA. So again, thank you, and on behalf of Caltrans, we're happy to accept the grant from FRA. On behalf of the City of Oxnard, FCTA, and the Commission, we will work together to get this project done. Thank you.
All right, as I mentioned before, I don't think this woman needs any introduction to the people that know her. She has been a tremendous leader here in Ventura County and on the national level. She has worked with us continuously on rail safety improvements throughout the Southern California area, and this is just the latest tangible result from her efforts. Without further ado, Congresswoman Julia Brownlee.
Good morning, and thank you, Keith. Thank you, Mayor Flynn. Thank you, Carrie Bowman. Thank you, Administrator Feinberg, for your collective leadership, because quite frankly, we wouldn't be here today without it, and I am very, very grateful for it. And I want to thank everyone who is here and present. Thank you for being here, and I will say too that everyone else who is here has played a very, very important role to get us where we are this morning. Rail safety and rail crossing safety is so very, very personal to all of us in Ventura County. In recent years, we have had far too many rail traffic accidents. Our county, just last year, we had 3 separate accidents involving rail and highway grade crossings. And in recent years, at the very busy Rice Avenue intersection here in Oxnard, we have seen multiple accidents, including the tragic 2015 Metrolink derailment, which injured 29 passengers and tragically resulted in the death of its train engineer, Glenn William Steele. Rail safety accidents have touched too many lives here in Ventura County, and we must do more to prevent them. And we all know that these accidents were and are preventable. And this is why I am so very, very grateful to Administrator Feinberg and to Secretary Fox for the $1.5 million grant that we are here to celebrate today. The funds, which come from our Federal Railroad Administration, will be used to complete the design of the proposed Rice Avenue Railway Highway Grade Crossing Improvement Project. Specifically, Caltrans and the Ventura County Transportation Commission intend to design a grade separation project which will not only improve safety at the intersection, but will also improve the safe and efficient flow of goods, both by truck and by rail, from the Port of Hueneme. The proposed design includes a 6-lane bridge on Rice Avenue over the Union Pacific Railroad tracks and State Route 34, which we know is 5th Street here in Oxnard. Securing this grant is a critical first step in moving the Rice Avenue grade separation project forward. As I say quite frequently, we can never get there until we take our first step. It is because of these serious safety concerns and efficient freight movement that we have all been so supportive of this grant. But let's be clear, this crossing has been identified as a priority grade separation location due to the repeated accidents involving trucks and cars being struck by trains. And this new design will significantly improve safety at this heavily traveled and dangerous intersection. Its importance is also magnified because Rice Avenue is the primary access route to the Port of Hueneme. Annual train traffic through the project areas include over 1,800 Metrolink commuter trains, over 3,000 Amtrak trains, over 4,300 Union Pacific trains, and Rice Avenue is also a primary truck route to the Port of Hueneme with average daily traffic of 35,000 vehicles. This is a lot of traffic. And it's why VCTC has nominated Rice Avenue for inclusion in the National Freight Network to ensure that our freight corridors move goods efficiently, which we all know is absolutely key to our continued That was timed perfectly by Amtrak. Thank you very much.
Here comes art.
Moving goods efficiently, and we all know, is absolutely key to our continued economic recovery. And as a new member of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, we collectively have been working diligently on many critical transportation issues. In fact, in December, the President signed into law the FAST Act, which included several of my amendments to improve rail and highway grade safety, And I was very pleased that those amendments were included. While this grant is an important first step in moving the Rice Avenue project forward, the overall cost of the grade separation project is projected at nearly $40 million. So we need to find a way to pay for the total project. As was mentioned earlier, Ventura County does not have a dedicated local funding source for transportation projects, which makes it much more difficult to fund projects like this one. While it's ultimately up to the voters of Ventura County to decide how to proceed, we must work together to educate our voters about the serious funding challenges that we're facing here locally and the backlog of infrastructure needs. I look forward to continuing the dialogue on this very important topic. And again, I thank Administrator Feinberg and Secretary Fox for the critical funding of the design of the Rice Avenue Grade Crossing Improvement Project. I thank everyone standing behind me here and their staffs for their extraordinary leadership on these important issues in Ventura County. And again, I thank all of you for being here today. Now I'd like to introduce Sarah Feinberg, Administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration. Administrator Feinberg was confirmed by the Senate unanimously in October, which is a testament to her strong qualifications. Prior to her confirmation, Administrator Feinberg served as Chief of Staff at the U.S. Department of Transportation, where she spearheaded the development of the administration's Surface Transportation Reauthorization Proposal. And before that, she served in the White House and the Obama administration as Special Counsel to the President. Please give a warm Ventura County welcome and a round of applause for Administrator Feinberg.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here today with all of these partners and stakeholders who all played such a big role in getting this project started and getting us kicked off and getting the funding for the design funded. So thank you to everyone who's here today and everyone who's come out. The first thing I want to talk about is the most important priority and topic when it comes to grade crossing safety. And that's Glenn Williams Steele, who was the engineer who was killed in the Metrolink derailment just last year. And I know many others were injured and some of them were here today. And I just want to start with that because it's the most important thing that we can keep in mind when we're thinking about how we can improve railroad crossing safety. Mr. Steele was just one of more than 200 people killed in grade crossing accidents last year. So at the FRA, we're doing everything we can possibly do to bring those numbers down so that fewer people are killed and fewer people are injured in railroad crossing accidents. This is a problem that's been with this country for a really long time. Since roads and railroads had to intersect, you can imagine this has been a problem in the country. And so the Federal Railroad Administration is doing two things. We're taking an all-of-the-above approach to improving safety at grade crossings. That includes new ideas and old ideas that have worked for a long time and that we shouldn't leave behind. So in terms of new ideas, we've got partnerships with tech companies. So they'll integrate railroad crossing data into their mapping applications. So drivers and passengers will be alerted when they approach a railroad crossing. We've started a partnership with law enforcement. So there's an increased presence at railroad crossings and even increased ticketing at railroad crossings. So that when drivers are approaching a crossing, they'll notice law enforcement or they may remember a ticket that they've received there and they will obey the laws. But that doesn't mean that we should walk away from old solutions that have worked for a long time. And that's one of the things I want to focus on here today. So good old-fashioned funding for important projects that improve safety will always be important. And you will never be able to get there and take that first step unless you have really strong partnerships between local and state and federal officials. And that's one of the best things about this project. Congresswoman Brownlee has been incredibly vigilant in her support for this project, in her focus on safety, in her laser-like focus on making sure that she can help deliver this project for this community. And you know, the Federal Railroad Administration can't provide grants unless the Congress provides the funds for the grants. And so that's really why we're here today. The Congress decided to take the step to provide the funding for the grants. So Congresswoman Brownlee was able to help make sure that the Federal Railroad Administration understood the importance of making sure that this project in particular was funded, and that's why we're here today. And while today's just a first step and one project, I think it's fair to say California could use all the help it can get. And that's not because, that's because of the number of crossings and the number of people. So California has more than 9,200 railroad crossings. And last year, they were the #1 state that led in deaths at railroad crossings. 32 people were killed last year in California at railroad crossings. So part of that's due to size, part of that's due to population, and part of that's due to all of the railroads that have to come through California. But it's a testament and it's a proof point of how focused we have to stay on improving safety. This specific crossing, everyone else has said today, is particularly important because of the high amount of traffic that it sees. So I'll just repeat some of those numbers. 14 trains a day, 35,000 vehicles a day. We often say at the Federal Railroad Administration that the safest railroad crossing is one that doesn't exist at all. So where you never have vehicles crossing railroad tracks or interfering with railroad traffic, and you never have the possibility for trains to hit cars or pedestrians. And so when you actually take away that crossing and create a separation, that's the safest possible railroad crossing that we can have. And so this is a great project because it separates the two. We're no longer going to have to worry about interconnected traffic signals and traffic queuing up over the railroad tracks or equipment activating, because the two will never have to meet again. And that's why this project's so important. So again, I want to thank the local partners, the state partners, Congresswoman Brownlee, and others. We have a long way to go. 9,200 crossings in this state alone, hundreds of thousands across the country. We can do a better job of improving safety at crossings. We have a long way to go, but this is a great start. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, I think at this point in time that will be the conclusion. People will be available for questions and answers. The administrator has to run off to Long Beach. If you want to grab her, please do so quickly. Mr. Leahy just arrived. We'd like to welcome our Chief Executive Officer at Metrolink. And if any of the media is interested in seeing the site or going back to that intersection and have questions, there's a safer route to go than going down where you need to make a U-turn. If you'll see Scott Johnson with Metrolink, he can help get you there. So thank you very much for coming out. Administrator Feinberg, thank you for all your efforts. Congresswoman Brownlee, thank you. Thank you to the City of Oxnard for hosting this event, and everyone for coming out. Have a great day.
Thank you.